Hello and welcome to this edition of Consider This. I'm your host, Charles Lake. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the styrene lobby. We're starting off here with the sugar lobby just because this article, the title of this article, pretty much sums up what lobbies do. And that is it misleads in the food industry. Uh, it could mislead the government and their their whole job is to mislead consumers into buying their product, even though it may have health effects that aren't listed. And we're going to go into that. Here's here's the Styrene Lobby, the Styrene Information and Research Center. That's the Styrene Lobby, and they represent 95% of the companies that deal with styrene. And this is dated back on August 26, 2008, right here. And this was this was documentation to slow down the the EPA and other government agencies, the Environmental Protection Agency, and they're all listed here. In with the 12th annual RACA report or report on carcinogens. And so this here, the styrene lobby says that the classification for the styrene's cancer causing potential is not formulated right yet. And this is back in 2008. In 2004, where was we? This was introduced to the 12th report on carcinogens was introduced in 2004, and the styrene lobby kept putting roadblocks in the way, and this is part of their roadblock, and it it's it's just another way to slow things down so that they can make as much money as possible off their product. Um, Here we go. Styrene was among the number of chemicals nominated in 2004 for possible inclusion in the 12th RACA, which is the report on carcinogens. And they kept throwing obstacles in the way. And it never got approved till 2011. And here's a briefing paper in 2010. And they're saying that even though mice get cancer from it, that the different species and genetic makeup of humans versus other animals, um, they don't know if it's going to have the same effect. But people are already getting leukemia from this chemical, and it's we're going to delve into a little bit of the background of this chemical right here. Styrene is a building block chemical that is used in production of many different kinds and this also comes from the Styrene Information and Research Center. So it's right off of their page. They say 98% of this product is produced by nature. And of the man-made chemical ethyl benzene, 99% is used to create styrene, which helps create many useful products. Now, they say styrene is naturally made. Um, why are they using this chemical to make styrene? There you go. There's one hint right there that shows that this product, styrene, um, is really nasty, and it's made for the backing of your carpets. Sometimes it's weaved inside your carpets or sprayed on your carpets um, for a different effect. It's made in home products, cars and tires, food packaging, electronics, um, baby seats and bicycle helmets and water flotation devices, and and it's also made for solar power and wind power and things of that nature. So this is some of the stuff that it's used for, which some of it is fine. I mean, the electronics, the safety of our the helmets and things like that, that's not coming in direct contact with our skin because they're usually lined. Making of the wind turbines and solar power, car parts, all the electronics, that's all fine. Some of the home stuff they've already taken off the market. It shouldn't. A lot of the stuff shouldn't be made into toys, but you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. Whether or not that can be solved, but a lot of the insulation has been taken off the market. Some of it still exists, but it's usually the outside stuff. All right, now we're going to go into the side effects of ethylbenzene and potential chronic health is it possible for slightly hazardous causes of skin contact, irritant sensitizer, which is the same as styrene. Most of this is basically same as the substance may be toxic to central nervous system. Styrene is the same way. Repeated prolonged exposure to this substance can produce target or, organs damage, which is the same as styrene. And if you go down the list here, it's inhalation, da da da. So this is basically the same as styrene, only it's a little different. It's a benzene, and let's see, precautions: keep away from heat, personal protection, goggles, da da da. Exposure limits. Um, Here we go. Class 2 possibly for human, as far as cancer. It's a possible human, for so this stuff is pretty bad. It may cause adverse reproductive effects and birth defects. Styrene also causes reproductive effects, and we're going to go into another page. But if we go back here, let's see. Oh no, we got to go up here. There we go. In 1980s, the parts per million, ppm, parts per million, for a factory worker was 100. And in the 90s, and I was I was hauling the styrofoam food containers when this happened. This happened in the early 1990-91 area. And I was pulling the polystyrene food containers or the polystyrene foam meat trays and clamshells and things of that nature out of W.R. Grace, out of Temple, Pennsylvania. And how they went from 100 parts per million to 50 parts per million is they put a big dome over the machinery that was heating up the polystyrene foam. And when they heat it up, it lets loose with the styrene. And so what they did was put a big shroud over it, and they vented all the styrene out of the roof of the building and into the air, which everybody breathes. And now this is pretty important because it stayed like 50 parts per million from 1992 to 2012. And the only reason it stayed that way was in 2004 when they wanted to make it styrene anticipably a carcinogen. The Styrene Lobby fought it, and they didn't lose until the late part of 2011. So in 2012, the Styrene Lobby brought the parts per million down to 20 parts per million for a factory worker, which a lot of people would say that's great. So, but if we go and look at and this is from DART, but it's also put out, the same thing is put out by the Styrene Lobby. And if you look here, the polystyrene foam puts out about between, and this is up to interpretation because you don't know if it's just sitting there or whether it's after you poured hot liquid in it or greasy substance like French fries get to put into it. So that's up to interpretation as far as I haven't seen any research done on why they came up with this number. But if you look at the inhalation, which comes from the exhaust from automobiles, diesel trucks, home heating oil, anything that burns creates styrene, benzene, and formaldehyde. So this here, it says it's the average annual styrene intake high-end range. This is mg, and it comes to 20 parts per million. And just to prove my point, mg, 1 milligram equals 1 parts per million by mass. And I looked that up just so that you could see that. If we go back here, 20 parts per million for an factory worker, but the air that you breathe, depending on where you're at, in big cities, it could be more than this. Cities don't test for this. So, big city like New York City, when I go down to New York City, when I come home, I can't think for several days because my head is scrambled because, like it says, it attacks the central nervous system. And I get very sick for several days, sometimes up to a week to 2 weeks before I can get my bearings about me. So, and depends on where you live, what's in your house or what your house is made out of to what the parts per million is in your house. So I thought that was critical to let you know that pretty much all lobbies are the same. They all like I say, they all mislead consumers, and some of them try to mislead, like the Styrene Lobby, with all these. They do all. In fact, I wanted to show you this. Of all the research that the Styrene Lobby underwrites is provided to the federal and state regulators and other policymakers to inform their decision making on styrene. So they say, well, our studies are better than your studies, and you got to listen to our studies. And I'm going to bring that up on one of the shows that we're going to do on reproduction, because I've got the whole paperwork, and in the government paperwork, it actually has a part where the Styrene Lobby, several pages where they tried to discredit what the other people have done from the government in their study. So, um, and it's only hurting the people. Styrene Lobby is not going to pay for your diabetes. And that's the other fact. All this research that they do with styrene is all concerned with the cancer effects. They're not concerned with the other effects, like the way it attacks the central nervous system, the way it raises the serotonin, the way it causes diabetes. They're not concerned with all that. They're only concerned with well, it's gonna be, we don't want it to be carcinogenic, because then people really get upset. People should be getting upset because they have diabetes. This is a lifelong, there is no coming back from diabetes. Some people say, oh, I lost the weight, now I don't have diabetes. Well, that might be for the moment. But if you're getting hit with this stuff, and they know it causes diabetes, and it's been written about, they're researching it again starting in 2017, this year. They just started researching it again after finding out back in 1979 that this is a problem chemical, and it's causing a lot of people to go bankrupt. And here these people are making money hand over fist because they're manipulating the system. They're they're just misleading the consumers, and they're also misleading um, a lot of other people, whether it be government, whether it be the food industry. Oh yeah, you can put this in your food and nothing's going to happen. Well, guess what? Now we've got the food containers that put out. If we look at the food containers, where this here tells you the parts per million, a styrofoam cup. It's only a styrofoam cup. It's not a 9x9 clam tray, which holds your food. This is just a styrofoam cup. They say 5 to 10. And we don't know if that's just sitting there, whether they poured cold water in it, which don't affect it very much, or whether they poured hot water in it, whether it would suck the styrene out of it, or whether they put greasy food in it. You can take a styrofoam cup and warm up some oil and pour in there, and it'll eat right through the bottom of the cup. You can take the rind of a lemon and squeeze the juice out of it, and you'll see the cup disappear. Um, and as far as being in our food, like I said, this chemical is not natural. And they keep saying it's natural, it's in our food. Well, the only reason it's in our bodies is because it clings to the fatty tissue of our body. And cinnamon has fatty tissues. Beer, they say it has anywhere from 10 to 200 parts per million, and per billion. Sorry. And so it depends on what the beer is made out of. Um, you know, beef has a lot of fat. So when it's eating the grass that's got the styrene on it, because it's all in our air and everything, and the water, it clings to water molecules, and it gets on the grass, and the cow eats the grass that has the water on it, so it's eating the styrene, and there you go, you got a high percentage. Um, so it's something that was a here before we had oil products that were grossly overused. And that's the facts now. This is the paper that I'm going to be doing soon on the reproductive system. And I have that whole paper. It's 290 pages, I believe, which we're not going to go through all of it, but we're going to go through a good majority. So I'm hoping this will help with the government, the lawmakers that are trying to make laws. Um, if we ban the substance from our food products, ban the polystyrene food containers from our food products, it's just getting more to styrene away from our body. Like we saw here, well, no, like we saw here, the inhalation part, we're going to have to do a little at a time with getting rid of the oils that we're using. That's going to happen over time. But this right here we can eliminate because they already want the FDA has already been petitioned to eliminate the styrene that they're letting the food industry put in our food. And so for you lawmakers, I'm hoping that you get the message. For the other people out there, please bring this to the attention of your lawmakers, whether it be local, county, state, or federal. Something has to be done. It's gross. It's grossly violating the healthcare system. Um, I'm hoping that you've gotten something out of this. I pray that we can do something soon. Um, our next show, I'm not sure what we're gonna do, but I will speak to you probably within a few days. So please get this to your lawmakers. Have a good night.